radio for all of us, where we bring you amazing music and blend it with quality talk all of the time. My name is Femi Olanipekun. Good morning and welcome to Frank Talk on Rave 91.7 FM. On Frank Talk, we look at trending issues in the polity. We bring these issues closer to your page, a better understanding and have a deeper insight in the issues that we discuss right here on Frank Talk. We look at the policies of government. We look at the politics behind some of those policies as well, all with a view to making you have a better understanding and having a deeper insight into some of these very issues. Well, today we'll be looking at one project here in Osun State that, many people agree that, will give some necessary relief to the economy of the state. We're talking about the MKO Abiola International Airport that has been in the works for some time right here in this state. Just some few days back, it was announced that, that airport, the state government, has entered into an agreement with a forum for the completion of the Moshood Kashimawo Lawale Abiola International Airport at Idosh under a build, operate and transfer BOT arrangement, and the signing of the concession agreement and the completion of the airport will hasten the takeoff of its operation in the next 8 months, according to that agreement. And it was said that, it will cost like 69 billion naira, and that will be completed without, government stress really that government is not going to spend a kobo of its own funds in getting that done. But then we expect that in the next 8 months, that particular airport will be up and running. Well, then the opposition in the states raised some number of issues, say why the increase in the funds and the money, saying from 11 billion naira to 69 billion naira, and then some of the other issues there is. And that's what we'll be focusing on right here today on Frank Talk and Rave 91.7 FM. I'm joined in the studio this morning by Mr. Ademola Adeyinka, the special advisor to the Osun State Governor on public service productivity, efficiency, and due process. Thank you so much for joining us on Frank Talk this morning, sir.
Thank you, Femi. Good morning.
Good morning. You're welcome to Frank Talk. And also, Dr. Muyiwa Oladimeji is a former member of the House of Representatives. He's a chieftain of the People's Democratic Party. Thank you so much for coming on Frank Talk again, sir.
Thank you. Good morning, Femi.
Good morning. Well, let's get started with Mr. Ademola Adeyinka. This particular agreement, it's been given kudos in some quarters, and then, like you must have also noted, it's been knocked in some other quarters. They're saying, how do we explain the increase from 11 billion naira for that particular, deal to 69 billion naira? The government has said, in this particular case, government is not going to spend any kobo. It's going to be the concessionaire that's going to do that.
Yes, thank you very much, Femi, and good morning to listeners. I want to start by saying that the value of dollar in Nigeria today is quite different from what it was when the project was conceived. And you would agree with me that dollar must have depreciated by as much as 300% between then and now. So it's a no-brainer that there is need to revalue what the project will be costing. However, whether it's costing 1 billion, whether it's costing 69 billion, the good thing about the agreement is that the state government of Osun is not going to spend any money. The money is coming directly from the investors who have seen the potential in building an airport in a state like Osun. So as far as the project cost is concerned, I would just want to remind listeners that things have moved on from when the government conceived the project and to what we have now. So there shouldn't be so much argument about the cost of the project at this point in time, knowing the economic fundamentals of Nigeria then and now.
Well, Dr. Oladimeji, I reckon that should satisfy you. That particular explanation as regards where the dollar was, I'm listening its value to the naira by over, like 300% here. That should satisfy you to some extent.
Oh, well, I don't think that this is you saying it. It's the dollar has not depreciated 300% from that time. But that's even beside the point. The first thing, congratulations to whoever the investors are. But you'll admit that the Osun State government claims that it has spent 3.6 billion so far on the project. Happily, this must be when as the dollar has not depreciated in the mathematical figurative of 300%. And I would just ask you and listeners back home and those who are in Ido Osun area or anybody who's interested to go and visit the site and see, apart from the fencing, whether what has been expended there up till now is anything near 3.6 billion. So this new figure of 69 billion from a government that is very profligate, that constructs a kilometer of road for 1 billion, which only recently we had at University of Osun constructed 2.2 to 3 kilometers of road for 250 million plus 100 million. It's not surprising that anything can be inflated. The fact that you have investors and friendly, so-called friendly investors in the Nigerian scenario does not mean that government is not capable. But the important thing is that amount is very high. It is very high. And when you now say you're leasing it for 30 years, you and I know that by the time 30 years, I don't think many people who are
there are many people who disagree with your point of view. I mean, they say government rather should be commended for getting this deal. If government is not going to break any sweat, not going to drop a kobo to get this particular infrastructure in place for the state. That it's standard practice all over the world to have build, operate, and transfer deals like this one.
Beautiful. Build, operate, and transfer. But that's why I'm saying we have to go historical, and that's why I went back the memory lane. First of all, by telling you and asking that let's see 3.6 million, which was initially expended, has 3.6 million been expended in that place?
3.6 billion.
Yes, that's billion. Sorry, billion, which the government of Osun says it has. Osun State government claims it has expended. Has it really been expended? Then, secondly, the fact that you come and tell me about an investor wanting it for 69 billion, to me, congratulations. I said congratulations to the investor, but we've seen a lot of underhand issues in this country. Well, I'm not going to mention that. I'm not going to dwell too much on that, except to say that there are still so many other projects that have been abandoned since this government came in. Even the road works that this government has been doing, most of it are abandoned. I don't know why it has become the big priority of government to go into such an agreement and then caption it, say 30 years, when by the time 30 years is over, you need almost a new reconstruction of the place. So it's like giving the place to so-called friendly of nice investors, which I think is also an index of profligacy, as far as I'm concerned. But the other point, which I also said, and which I wanted to say, is that costing. Everything under this government has been hyper costed, has been over bloated, and that's what I was telling you about. And I gave you two examples. This government has been saying 1 billion per kilometer of road, but in Osun State University, during the convocation, we know Mrs. Alakija donated 250 million, Osun State itself 100 million, that's 350 million, and that was used for 2 to 3 kilometers of road.
Mr. Deyinka.
Yes, let me quickly react to that, because sometimes for the sake of politics, we try to model things up. When you talk about the cost of a project, the cost of the project is not limited to what you pay the contractor to buy sand, to buy blocks. You also have to agree with me that some people will own the land and they will need to be compensated. So when people come and argue that a road that is supposed to be so many kilometers went for so much amount, they always deliberately or mischievously ignore the fact that the owners of the land will have to be compensated. And it is when you compensate them that they feel happy. All right? Because you're taking what belongs to them. The land mass that is going to house the airport is so huge that you can imagine the number of families that will be compensated on that road. So, but I have been there. I've also seen that a 3.5 kilometer runway is being constructed, which the concessionaires will complete. All right. To construct a runway in airport financing is not just like constructing land. Constructing an ordinary road. We also should recall very quickly how much it costs Nigeria, the federal government of Nigeria, to do the Abuja runway. It costs a lot of money. So if you say you spend 3.6 billion, it is not just the cost of the brick and mortar that will go with it. It also includes the cost of compensation. It also includes the cost of the pre-operation, the things you do at the back end, the design, all right, the architectural design, the QS, and all other documentation that you will need to do. You need to do an environmental impact analysis, which will cost you money. These are things that people will not see on ground.
So you're saying the 3.6 billion that the government has spent on that airport in the first place is not, like the PDP is saying, a waste?
It's not a waste. It is absolutely not a waste, because what it means is that cost now has been transferred to
but he said something. He said that he's been there, that the fencing that you get to see there, that there is virtually nothing on ground at that airport.
That's to him. I'm not sure he's constructed airports before. I'm not sure he knows what goes on into the construction of airports. So for a layman, you may get somewhere and say nothing has been done. It's just for me to get into a theater and see patients and say the doctors haven't done anything. But there must have been a lot of things that they have done at that process, which from a layman's point of view, you are not trained to see. And we should recognize that there are certain things that we're not experts in. All right? So what you're not expert in is for you to ask questions to say, yeah, what has gone into this expenditure? I need to know. But looking at it from the layman's point of view, you're not likely to get the true picture of what has gone into a project. I can tell you very clearly, if you're building a high-rise building, for instance, the cost that goes down beneath the ground is even much more than what you would use to raise it up. So if you, as a project investor, say that, contractor, I've not seen anything you have spent. This house has not moved on, but there's a lot that has gone beneath the ground. So the experience, the knowledge, the exposure in things that we're criticizing should be should come to the fore when we come and debate issues like this.
Well, Dr. Olanipekun is saying it wouldn't be fair to say that the 3.6 billion naira spent so far on that project, has not been spent judiciously. As explained, given the analogy of building a high-rise building, that what goes down, what you spend, even laying the foundation, establishing a strong foundation, is something substantial.
Well, it's obvious that my co-discussant is a very learned person, but I'm also not unaware that he has to defend the government that he works for. But when you talk about environmental impact assessment, maybe he doesn't know. This person who is discussing now, I happen to have handled the environmental impact assessment for Borno and Yobe State. So actually, my second degree was also in environmental management, and I was one of those consultants that interviewed most of the guys who started FEPA. So let's not, one doesn't want to blow one's trumpet on that aspect. I am not unaware of environmental impact assessment, environmental studies. But what I'm saying is that, and I'm also not unaware of the fact that an ordinary road and an airport are different. The analogy I made was to the road construction in Osun, the cost of it, and the road construction also in Osun University, the cost of it. And then I'm using that to say, look, this government, by its culture, has always been extremely overbloats things. But he believes that. So, and I said that one hasn't been there. The runway, I'm sure he cannot tell us. Yeah, and he has said it now that they plan to do a runway. They acquire land. I should like to let him know, because one happens to have been around here for quite some time, is that the land of the airport was initially acquired by the federal government during the Second World War, and that land, that is why it is called, it's in Ido Osun, but that is why it was called Oshogbo Aerodrome during the Second World War. And the Osun State government should let us know how much more acres it has acquired in addition to it. I put it to him that in fact what Osun State what has been acquired now is not up to 1/4 of what has been there before.
I would not argue that. What I want, and I want us to put things in proper perspective. We're discussing MKO Abiola Airport at this point in time. So references to other roads, I think, will be very inappropriate. And then we're also talking about an airport that has been concessioned. It is not what government is going to be spending money on. I think the government of the state of Osun, led by Ogbeni Rauf Aregbesola, deserves commendation for being creative in its financing solution to a project that is very, very key to the development of the state. Now, let's go back to the MKO Abiola Airport and its location. Yes, I may be too young to know that it was acquired during the World War, whatever that may be, or the Civil War.
No, Second World War.
Yes, I may be too young to know what happened during the Second World War, but obviously what the airport is going to look like, the land space that is going to occupy now, is a lot more than what the World War would have bequeathed to Nigeria or whatever. Also, when you talk about compensation for the owners of the land, it depends on how large-hearted you are as a government. For some, they may say, you go to hell, we'll just give you peanuts. But for a government that cares about the masses, that is very, very concerned about the welfare of the people, yes, we may be generous, and our generosity is not a weakness. It is just because we want the people that we have taken something from to feel happy that we are compensating them, and that thing is going to be used for the development of the state. So when we're negotiating compensation, I don't think the government should be given any.
But you know, he made a point that the federal government acquired that land, after World War II.
Federal government is not state government of Osun. So whatever federal government owns does not belong to Osun. There must have been an agreement. There must have been an arrangement. The same way federal government owns the federal secretariat in Lagos. They've moved to Abuja. It does not mean that automatically that place belongs to Lagos. So it is a sovereign, different sovereign entities. There's a sovereign and there's a sub-sovereign. So if it belongs to the federal government, except we have it or it has evidence to prove that the federal government gave it or donated it to state government of Osun, I want to believe that there must have been an arrangement between the two. And the land that he probably is talking about is far less than what the airport would be. And let me also tell you about the airport. It's not just the airport that you are seeing the cost. It also contains a dual carriageway that would lead to the airport. The original concept was the airport, but now you have a dual carriageway which leads from town, Oba Aderemi Road, up to the airport. So that is an additional cost on the project. So for me, I think it is not everything that we must argue or we must debate for the purpose of politics. I think when something is good and has been done well, we should give commendation. If there are areas that require fine-tuning, positive criticism is what this government deserves at this time. And a whole lot of encouragement, not just condemning or bringing in issues that cannot be substantiated.
All right, well, Dr. Oladimeji, government, I mean, like what he said now, saying even aside building the airport itself, part of what was factored into this new deal is a dual carriageway from town to that airport. That will seem on paper to be very commendable, and government has said that this airport will boost the economic dynamics of this particular state. You don't see it from that perspective.
Well, I appreciate what my co-discussant is saying. And I'm quite impressed that he says we should always encourage government. And indeed, we do encourage government.
Would you encourage government on this one? Would you commend government on this one?
I'm going on this. I'm not one to just, talk carelessly about any issues, granted one's background also. And to that extent, I say, yes, he said government is large-hearted, beautiful, except that is not reflected in several other spheres of government life. They have salary syndrome, the Kuderat no salary syndrome, and all this. So I don't see that as being a large-hearted government. But suddenly there's a large-heartedness when it comes to building the airport. And suddenly we are now being told, maybe I should let him know, that actually Chief Ebenezer Obatope was Minister of Aviation under the military regime, and he also made effort. In fact, the tower, the control tower at that time was renovated on this airport. Also, maybe I should also let him know that this project was not conceived by Aregbesol's government. Aregbesola was continuing what the former PDP government under Governor Yola started, and at that time, the whole idea, the concept came in from that time. Yes, government is a continuum. So Aregbesola came into it. He initially said it was going to cost 3-point-something billion. Now, later on, it was escalated to 11-point-something billion. And we're now being told a figure of 69 billion, but of course, masqueraded in terms of concessioning. It will not cost Osho people anything. But how can you tell me it's not costing Osho anything when it is going to be used for 30 years? By those people? It means Osun, by the contractor, it means Osun has no, I would like also to know, it means Osun has no, there will be not much dividends directly. Of course, if the contract gets completed, yes, there would be some dividends. That will bring us to another discussion, whether in fact, but I didn't want to discuss that because I'm leaving that to the investors themselves to discuss, I have to think about, because you and I know, and it's obvious fact, Ilorin Airport is not making money. Ibadan Airport is not making money. Akure Airport is not making money. These are all neighboring states. But solely these investors who are going to invest 69 billion and going to keep the place for 30 years, by which time my good friend's hair and will be grayer than it is now. And many, even you, your young self, will already become a grandfather at that time. And some of us may not even be around in 30 years time, so that also is a cost implication. It's like you own your property, you have a property. I'm giving my father's house out for 30 years because the person is going to build a land and he can use it for the next 30 years. How many people will really consider that a wise thing? I'm not, I don't want to start criticizing just for criticism's sake, but this, in fact, actually is positive criticism. So the government should look at it again and ask itself question that, is this the right thing? Will this in fact bring any benefits to this state? Will this thing make money? And we must also find out. We know in this country, and that's why there's underhand payments left, right, and center. But I don't want to insinuate that because I don't have any proof to it. So that's where it is for now.
But he raised a very important point, saying even neighboring airports, Akure, Ibadan, Ilorin, are not making money. They are largely unviable. Saying the land is federal government land. It's to say, it was an arrangement that the federal government, if you can develop, go ahead and do it. It was not bought from the federal government. That is a statement of okay, so it's saying that away from that, it's saying the airports in Ibadan, the airport in Akure, in Ilorin, are largely unviable as we speak. Saying, is government really sincere to say it's now building an international airport here in Osogbo, in Osun State?
Let me state very clearly that the investors are not dummies, they are not fools. For somebody to bring in 69 billion into an economy, they must have seen something. Number two is that the model for Ibadan, the model for Ilorin, the model for Akure is substantially different from the model of MKO Abiola.
What's the difference?
I'll tell you. One of the differences is that this MKO Abiola airport is going to have a hangar where you can service planes, where you can do basic maintenance. It comes with it. Ilorin doesn't have that. In fact, the hangar in Lagos airport is still very low in terms of sophistication. So they are bringing in one that can even service the entire aviation industry in Nigeria. That's
Here in
Osun. That's number one. Number two is that it's also going to come with warehousing. Now, what are the comparative advantages of Osun? Number one, we talk about agric. Number two, we talk about tourism. When you talk about agric, you need specialized warehouses to move agric products fresh from your state into wherever you are exporting them to. Now, if you go to stores in Europe, in America, you see some fresh fruits that they do not produce there. Those fresh fruits must have been transported, air freighted overnight to those stores. And that is the kind of thing we want to develop in Osun, so that some of the things we have strength in producing will be air freighted into those places and they still remain very fresh. You don't want to take them through the 4 hours journey to Lagos and now take them out from Ido-Osun, the MKO Abiola airport. You can easily do that. Now, you're also talking about modeling. What is also different in this is that it's a much bigger airport. The conception also has tourism potential in mind, because if you look at another comparative advantage of our state, apart from agric, the next thing is tourism. All right. And I would like to remind you, I'd like to tell you that we have Erin-Ijesha waterfall, which is which should be a major tourist attraction. The comparative to Erin-Ijesha is the Victoria Falls in Zambia. The Victoria Falls records 700,000 international visitors every year. Now, let's say we cannot move to that figure very quickly. 100,000 visitors coming to Erin-Ijesha waterfall, spending $1,000 before they go back. $1,000 times 100,000. You know how much that gives you. That is close to $100 million. Now, tourists will not visit there if they consider that they have to travel 3-4 hours from Lagos to get there. Now, landing in MKO Abiola Garden makes it a lot easy. So you can see the economic potential of what the government has done in terms of the future of this state. Now, when you're talking about airport concession in 30 years is even too small. Now, Gatwick Airport was built a long time ago. A few years ago, it was concessioned to a Nigerian, and the concession to a Nigerian was for 40 years for an airport that has already been built. Now, what is the government thinking? The government is not thinking about now. We are not a short-term thinking government. We're a medium to long-term thinking government. We are thinking about the children, not us now. Because a lot of things have happened in Nigeria that we as adults may not benefit from. But the children that are coming up, they have a bright future to look forward to in the state of Osun. And that is the critical part of the thinking of Ogbeni Rauf Aregbesola. So, because Nigerians are used to short-term thinking, a lot of the things he's doing are substantially unappreciated.
You know, you made a point, you know, that this 30-year concession plan, that by the time that deal expires, what we actually need to do, basically, maybe we need to be another airport.
No.
It may not be a good deal.
Airports don't operate like that. I mean, if airports are like hotels that are internationally managed, I mean, the 5-star, 7-star hotels, they never depreciate because the maintenance culture is high. These people are going to be maintaining it. And let me also share with you one secret. That airport is going to be financed by the Turkish Exim Bank. And what that means is that 85% of the input into the airport must come from Turkey. All right? 85%, that's materials that will be used to build the airport must come from Turkey. Now, because Turkish Exim Bank is involved, technically, it means that the Turkish airline also will be interested in that kind of airport. So they may decide that the Osun State Airport, the Ido-Osun MKO Abiola Airport, will be their own hub for Nigeria and for West Africa. So we have an international airline that is riding on the back of the Turkish Exim Bank, also landing in Mko Abiola Garden. So with that mindset in mind, you can be sure that when they are handing it over after 30 years, whatever renovation or addition you need to make will be minimal. But the most important thing is the infrastructure is already on ground.
Okay, well, Dr. Olademeji, you made reference to to this fact the other time that this particular airport was started by Governor Lagos during his time. Would you admit that maybe that was a mistake on the part of the PDP government that time? Maybe could have finished this particular project if it actually set his heart to it. Then.
It was started towards the end of his government. The concept came in just towards the end of his government. That was the last year that the concept of the airport became, in a front burner of Oyola's government. And you know that Oyola had to leave a bit earlier than. Can I finish? A bit earlier than expected. Now coming back, you see, Hub, for example. One has been to, unfortunately, and thank God for that. I've been to Niagara Falls. I've also been to Zambia, and I know what El Ijesha is. Two holidays ago, I took my grandchildren, who are high school kids, to El Ijesha waterfalls. So I'm quite happy that the government recognized El Ijesha waterfalls and all whatever it says about it. Blah blah. I'm not going to start arguing because that's not the subject of this discussion. But when I'm told that government is large-hearted, government is futuristic, I ask myself, is it not the same government that when it came in told us about OHOP, Dagbolo, there is going to be an agricultural hub, and rented a 450 million property in Lagos for OHOP, and up till now we haven't seen nothing for OHOP. Please, let's be subtle on the way we on our propaganda. I know that the gentleman is a nice guy, and I appreciate his being very supportive of these measures of his principle. But frankly speaking, we must the issue that I'm asking, and then when you talk about Turkish Airlines making Osho Airport its hub, airlines don't make a place their hub simply because of one example. It's because of the quantum of passengers. Is it going to tell me that the quantum of passengers coming into Oshogbo into Oshun MKO Abiola Airport will be more than that of Lagos Muritala Mohammed Airport and that of Azekwe Airport in Abuja? That would then convince the Turkish, let's make this a hub. You make this your hub, and passengers who have to go to other places will not have to be catching other lines. It doesn't work out that way.
So, for you, basically, it's a lack of trust in this government.
Yes, the antecedents of this government and all the track record does not make me trust this government, and it doesn't make any discerning mind trust this government.
Well, just before we go on, to open the phone lines, really, the issue of trust is one that has been raised. They said that on this same project, government has talked about it the other time, saying we're going to finish this airport in 18 months. In fact, there's been several, deadlines and timelines given as to completing this project. They're saying these latest one, talking about 8 months, we're saying by June next year, this airport will be operational. Is it feasible? Is it not just going to go the way of the other, previous deadlines?
No, you see, in project finance, you have underlying assumptions. And those assumptions remain assumptions. When the assumptions don't come to reality, of course, it will affect your plan for that project. Yes, government desired to complete that airport project as at when the plan started, but financial resources became an issue, and were unable to move ahead with that project. But fate smiled on us, and we got somebody who saw the potential in it, who probably saw what the government saw and said, I will take advantage of this and come and invest a substantial amount in this project. So for me, the fact that we've said something and we're not able to do it is not for lack of will. It's just because these assumptions that made us to project are no longer there. That's number one. Number two is when you look at the airport itself, and I still want to take him on, particularly on the issue of the Turkish airline. It is not always that traffic determines where you would make your hub. Sometimes vested interest also, because you need your counterparty to make some money. You therefore decide, I will be here. And international air travel has gone beyond just the one leg kind of thing. Yeah, maybe the crowd is in Lagos, the market is in Lagos, but there must be a way. They can say, I'll fly to Lagos, touch down in Oshogbo before I fly to Istanbul. That's a possibility. So the trust thing, I know many people in the opposition have this kind of trust issue, and I'm sure it is not a well-founded trust. It is just based on the fact that we're in opposing camp, and whatever accolades you're giving to your opponent is adding up into the political collateral they are gaining. So I would not be surprised if this trust issue is there. But what I'm saying is this government has done a lot. We're not a short-term thinking government. We're a long-term thinking government. If you look at the United Arab Emirates also, it's a long-term thinking government. They're already thinking about 2071, when we are still grappling with issues of 1914. They're already far ahead of us in their thinking. That is what a transformation leader would do. A transformation leader is not thinking about now, he's thinking about generations yet unborn. I mean, if you out, the case I like using is the case of the underground stations in the UK. The underground station started about 110 years ago. I mean, who could imagine that London without underground would be chaotic at this time? But some people thought far ahead. They saw what we could not see, what ordinary people could not see, and they made preparation for it. Look at Awolowo also. When he built Liberty Stadium, how many people were watching football? Liberty Stadium hosted the All-African Games. So leaders don't think short-term. Leaders think long-term. And that is the distinctive mark of a transformation leader that everybody must embrace, that everybody must support.
All right. Well, we have to open the phone lines now. Or, you know, Dr. Lademiji wants to just say one or two.
Yes.
Just in a minute.
I will keep praising him for being a very loyal to his principle, and the absurd comparison with Awolowo, for example. You and I know that Awolowo, for example, started a free education in the whole of Western region, and Western region at that time, I went to Government College Ibadan, became the top in terms of education, and even Awolowo's children attended those schools. Late Chief Wole Awolowo attended the Grammar School, Tokubo Awolowo attended Centers Secondary School, and they all went to ICC Practicing School. None of Ogbeni Rauf or he would send his kids to this secondary school that they said. None of their committee sent their kids to the secondary schools that they are starting in Oshun, which don't have facilities, just building without facilities. So please don't let us over compare with Awolowo and Co. They are miles apart.
No, Femi, I would like to come in there. As far as the education is brought in education, and that is one thing that I am very proud of Ogbeni about. The high schools, the middle schools, the elementary schools that are far, far better than some of the Ivy League private schools that you see all over Lagos, Ibadan, and Co. I will be very proud to send my children to Elisha High School. I'll be very proud to send my children to the new high schools that are being constructed now. I'll be very proud to send them to the elementary school, and encourage everyone to do so.
Well,
Because
No, excuse me. Now that you have said that, you have to get you have to get some figures, Mr. Femi, please.
Because of our time, Dr.
They will talk. You have to get some figures. Before this government came in JAMB, Osun State was always between the top 10. In WAEC, when Oyinlola was going PDP government, Osun State, WAEC and NECO was 9th and 8th. Under Babakode, it was 14th. Under Rauf Aregbesola, Osun State in WAEC is now 29th, and in NECO, NECO is 29, WAEC is 31.
No, those statistics are wrong.
Those
absolutely
we can
wrong.
go to WAEC
and let me tell you also that education disintegration does not happen under 8 years.
Well,
it takes time. So that can be another debate for another day. I'll be very happy to come and take him on. No, I'll be very happy to take him on as far as this education.
I think it's just
organize. I would like to have.
Actually organize.
It's a debate I would like to have with him. As far as education is concerned,
it has now descended.
We have 7 stars.
Not even 5. We can just have a deal here.
Yes, we can fix a date. We
actually have a debate.
Yes.
And we'll bring officials of NECO and WAEC.
No, I don't even need to bring anybody. I will be here to defend
Mr.
the statistics.
We have a deal here.
No. I'm happy you bring them on. I will take them on as far as the education record is concerned. What I'm saying again is that we have laid a solid foundation.
Mr. Dr. Ladimeji, we seem to have a deal that we'll be here again sometime, maybe next week, to look and focus on the education. Then we have a debate between you two, actually looking at both sides.
I'll be more than happy.
From what the topic is. Let's open the phone lines. We'd like you to keep your comments really basically on the airport discussion that we've had, on Frank Talk this morning. The issue of education actually will come some other time. We have the two of them really here to look at that and then trash it out, all of the facts, hidden, and everything on that particular topic. Open the phone line for you right now.
You can now join the conversation by calling 0703-175-9177, 0703-175-9177, and 0902-427-3808. You can equally make use of our social media platforms. For WhatsApp, 0703-175-9173, 0703-175-9173. Tweet at us at Rave917FM, and Facebook is Rave917FM. Do remember to turn down the volume on your radio set or move away from it. And please, let's keep our comments civil. Thank you.
Hello, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. My name is Afolabi Mercy, calling from Oshogbo, Osun State.
Thank you, Mr. Afolabi.
On my own opinion about the issue of the administration.
No, we're talking about the airport.
Okay, the airport, right?
Yes.
The man has tried in initiating that project. All what we want, what we want and we pray for is that the project to be completed within the stipulated time. Right. So that we do not keep us waiting the way they have been doing since the beginning of the administration.
Thank you very much. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning, Mr. Femi.
What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Biodu Martins. I'm calling from Oshogbo.
Thank you, Mr. Martins.
I want to comment on one of the things the spokesperson for the state government said. He said this project is going to benefit Osun indigenes in terms of agriculture and tourism. I want to put it to him that nothing has been done in these two sectors since the inception of this government. And I think those two things he mentioned are things that will really bring money to this state. And I think that they should come first before this airport thing. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Hello, good morning. Hello.
Good morning.
What's your name? Where are you calling?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Abib calling from Elisha.
Abib from Elisha, thank you.
Hello?
I'm with you. Go ahead with your contribution, Mr. Abib.
Yeah, I want to contribute about the airport. I really think we all should commend the state government initiating this kind of program. I think they are also blinded by criticism and let me say political agenda to see good in what this government is doing. The airport is a very good initiative, and I think it's something that this state in the long run, I mean, in the future and generations to come. I really want to thank Governor Rave for doing this for us, and it might be the landmark of this. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. Hello, good morning.
Yeah, hello, good morning.
I'd like for you to turn down the volume of the radio, sir.
Yeah, I've done that. Hello, good morning.
What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, Mr. Law from Malaysia.
Thank you, Mr.
Good morning.
Law. Good morning.
Yeah, about the airport project, I think it's a great initiative of this government, and in which I expect everybody in the state to just have belief in the government that this project will be completed within the stipulated period of time. And if this project is being completed, I think it's a great heritage and achievement for this government. That is number one. Then number two is that Honorable Olanipekun was saying something about the education of Osun. I think...
Well, let's leave that discussion for another time. Let's focus purely on the airport. Hello, good morning. Please, when you call and show the volume of the radio set is kept low. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
What's your name? Where are you calling from?
I'm calling Olani from Malaysia.
Mr. Olani from Malaysia, thank you.
People are having doesn't have belief in this government is that they have been lying for us in the inception of this government. They said the program, the airport will be completed in 6 months, 12 months, all along. And for a contract of 4 billion to be rated to 69 billion naira, it's highly unfair. And this government has been lying and by funding the money of this state. It's highly unfair.
All right. Okay, well, let's take some messages on... Okay, that dropped. Let's take some messages on Twitter. Victory Mide is saying, APC Oshuso chapter will need a lot of money for next year's election, so the airport project is a necessity. God help us. The moving leaves is saying, well, I always enjoy this. Happy New Month to all rivers. Victory Mide is also saying the airport project is commendable. I think majority of Osun people will appreciate that now or later, just the overrated cost. And then Olanipekun is saying, good morning, the airport project is a welcome development for the state of Osun and it's a good heritage. Pray the project finish earlier. And Areola Dimeji tweeting at Real Ola Dimeji saying, morning, Mr. Femi, the governor's man is saying we'll be proud to take his kids to the state high school. Okay, well, I think that particular comment will take it at the appropriate time when we have a debate on the education policies. Let's take another call, then we go over to WhatsApp and return to our guest. Please, when you call, keep the volume radio set low. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
What's your name? Where you calling from?
Emmanuel from Malaysia. Good morning.
Thank you, Emmanuel.
Yes, about the airport, is a big innovation. Get the point. But the spokesperson of the government was talking about compensation to the landowner. And mind you, this land has been acquired several years ago. I want him to tell us the acres acquired and out of the 3.6 billion, the amount used to compensate those people.
All right.
Good morning.
Thank you. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
What's your name?
Femi Abiodun from Osogbo.
Thank you, Mr. Femi Abiodun.
The APC will never appreciate PDP. Both likewise, PDP will never appreciate APC. They are both are political. But about the airport issue now, we should give kudos to the government because PDP they didn't want them to finish that thing so that they will use it to campaign for the next election. But I was happy to them. If Mr. Olanipekun know that the money was too much, they can buy the contract. They can buy the contract. If they say that we see a lot of profit there, they too can go and approach the governor and buy the contract anyway. And did it. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Femi Abiodun. This message on WhatsApp is from Prince Adepo Chatobatele from Ilan. He says, Femi, I see the MK Airport project as a white elephant. One, how many industries do we have in the state of Osun? Why was the project abandoned for almost 2 years? And why is it now that the government is revisiting the project as the 11th hour when the administration has only a few months to go? And Afiz Adebayo from Okebale Oshogbo is saying, good morning, Rave. It's worried some to average Oshun person that a huge sum amounting to 3 billion naira have been spent on the airport project, and there is no commensurate structures on ground, and we are being cornered into technical and complex excuses. Accountability of the previous amount spent before this concession is what is questionable. Okay, that about the comments. Let's get back to our guest now. Let me start, with Mr. Ademola Adeyinka. We take your response to the questions, and then we take also as a final remarks on the program. Someone particularly asked, Emmanuel from Malaysia, saying, tell us the acres acquired, and then how much of the 3 billion naira thereabouts was used to settle landowners.
I don't have the figures, but I know that the valuation of what has been expended on that project, in my own opinion, there's nothing to worry about. That's number one. The second point I would like to make is that our listeners should avoid misinformation. The 63 billion plus that it will cost to construct the airport is not coming from government. That is a foreign investment that we're attracting to the state of Osun. So nobody should worry that government is spending that kind of money. And White Elephant projects only happen when government handles businesses. But in this case, people who are into business are the ones that are investing this kind of money in the airport project. So it's not likely to turn into a White Elephant project.
Are you confident that this airport will be completed at the due date of June?
Well, I'm confident because they have said it. It's their money. And if they say they'll complete it at this... No, the June they mentioned is the first phase.
Okay.
It's the first phase of the construction. The runway will be done. Small aircraft can take off from 8. It is not the entire project that will be completed by June. So we should get that right. All right? But on a passing note, let me just mention that the vision of Ogbeni Rauf Aregbesola is to make Osun, state of Osun, the best place to live in Nigeria.
All right, well, we'll leave it at
so,
that.
In that case, I want the opposition to come on board and support this government.
All right.
Criticism should be limited, and it should be for further development of the state of
Dr.
Osun.
Oladimeji, your final remarks.
Well, thank you very much. I think I can assure you that the PDP will renegotiate that contract when the PDP takes over government from Aregbesola. And that's because as far as the PDP is concerned, it's over bloated. And you also must appreciate, like one of the callers said, the land was already acquired many years ago by the federal government. Unfortunately, he has not been able to tell us how much more the Osun State government has reacquired. But on a passing note, I just tell you that because of the antecedents of this government, and because of the way it has handled several things, even this airport project always postponed, there's a lack of confidence of the people.
Well, we have to let it be at that because of our time. Thank you very much for joining us on Frank Talk this morning, sir. Dr. Muyiwa Oladimeji, former member of the House of Representatives, is a chieftain of the People's Democratic Party. Thank you so much for coming on Frank Talk, sir. And also, Mr. Ademola Adeyinka is the special advisor to the Osun State Governor on public service productivity, efficiency, and due process. We appreciate your coming on the program this morning.
Thank you very much.
On behalf of the team and the executive producer.
Thank you very much.
We ask you to have a great day. My name is Femi Olanipekun. Good morning.
New music is on. New music is on.
This is your amazing radio station. Rave 91.7 FM.
Papa, mama, you can now listen to me. For your building materials and original title. Now Osidom PF. Now them they sell them. Them they don't plaza. Then go do you better. Osidom PF. Yes, Osidom PF Investment Company Limited. Now them they sell original